Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. Was that the old World of Tanks intro we see, Jingles? Is this another retro World of Tanks replay? Yep, yes it is. But it's not that old. Okay, it isn't World of Tanks 1.0, but this one was actually recorded on the 5th of March, 5 days before I dinged level 48 in real life. And much like in Tuesday's video, I thought it was high time I actually turned some of these replays into videos on YouTube. So without further ado, here on Himmelsdorf in the Tier 9 Object 257, this, how do you pronounce that name anyway? Cathagitis? Cathagitis? It sounds like a disease. Yep, I'm afraid you've come down with a very nasty case of cathagitis. It's a horrible, disfiguring, flesh-eating disease, and by the looks of things, it started on your face. We're just going to call him Cath for short, although I'm making a bit of an assumption there, aren't I? I mean, Cath could be short for Cathy or Catherine. This could in fact be a lady. I guess we'll never know. So anyway, Cath, Object 257. This is a relatively new Soviet Tier 9 heavy tank. It was apparently a development of the IS-7. And if you look at the hull, it does kind of look like an IS-7 hull, but with maybe an IS-4-ish turret, sort of, maybe? Who knows? Take your own guess and you'll be as right as anybody, because this tank never existed. It was blueprints only. No prototypes were built. As you could see from the speed that Cath was clocking as he, or possibly she, was cruising down the road here on Himmelsdorf, this is a fairly speedy heavy tank. And the gun's not bad either. It's pretty good by Russian standards. The accuracy and the aiming time are of course absolutely horrible, although that doesn't really seem to be affecting Cath so far. It's a 122mm gun. The upgraded gun on the tank has 248mm of penetration, and unlike most other 122mm guns, it does not do 390 average damage. Yeah, that 397 damage that was just inflicted on the RU-251 was actually a low damage roll. The alpha damage of this gun, much like the Object 252U or Defender at Tier 8, is actually 440 average damage. So that's kinda nice. Of course, the rate of fire isn't great either. But, as the French philosopher Voltaire and Spider-Man's Uncle Ben are often quoted as saying, with great power comes a kinda slow reload. That may not have been exactly what they said, but close enough for government work. The armour on this tank's also not bad. Well, the armour on the turret is very, very good. The armour on the hull isn't actually that thick, although it's fairly consistent, 130mm on the front and the sides with 70mm at the rear, but it's very, very well sloped and angled. It does come with a couple of weaknesses though. The top of the hull, the top of the turret. The front of the turret is amazing. The upgraded turret has 350mm of frontal armour, but the turret roof and the driver's hatch can be overmatched by high caliber armor-piercing shells. In fact, it doesn't even need to be that high caliber. The turret roof and the top of the hull are only 30mm thick, so a 91mm gun or better firing armor-piercing is going to go through it like a hot knife through butter, regardless of the angle of impact. A couple of good hits there scored on the ONI, although we did have to load the heat in order to get through its armour, so it would be kind of churlish to object to the Primo Victoria coming out and popping a round of APCR through the front of the Object 257, which is to be expected. It is a Tier 8 medium after all. It only has something like 225mm of penetration with its standard ammunition, and when you're facing lower tier mediums in something like this, you kind of have to expect, if they're engaging you from the front, that they're probably going to be loading the gold. And so of course you adjust your tactics accordingly. Speaking of adjusting your tactics accordingly, his team's getting their asses kicked. They're losing 4 kills to 9, and the enemy team are capping. If that Sperrpanzer could just pop out a little, fantastic, thank you very much. Yep, there's the Primo Victoria again. Again with the premium APCR. I wonder if he realises that he doesn't actually need it. That was a shot into the lower glacis, which is 130mm thick, and okay, yeah, it is sloped, but the effective thickness, even sloped, is still less than 200mm. Still, it's his money. He was going to penetrate regardless of what he fired. If he wants to spend money unnecessarily, that is entirely his choice. Oh, the Tigers flipped the shot. So he is very dead, which is nice. They're now up to 6 kills versus 10. They're still losing horribly. But on the bright side, at least the enemy team aren't capping anymore. Doubtless they smell the blood in the water, the sharks are circling, and they've gone into full-on hardcore, no cap, kill all mode. And that FV4202 looks like he's going to be next. It's hard to see how he's going to survive that. Yep, he's done. There are now 9 enemy tanks against the 3 of them. Okay, make that 8 enemy tanks against the 3 of them. Kath here in the 257. The Oni over there to his or her left. Surely that is never good. Wow. Okay, there are now 7 enemy tanks left. Russian accuracy, folks. You saw it here. That's 0.4 dispersion, by the way. He managed, or she, because we're not being judgmental here, managed to snipe the hatch of a moving IS-7 at a range of what looked like 300 meters. 0.4 accuracy, 2.9 second aiming time. Oh, there's the 3rd surviving tank on the team. They're on the map. Oh, hang on a second. We're just going to obliterate this guy. There we go. Anyway, back to the other surviving tank on the team, the STG, who had been sitting up on the hill getting the crap shot out of him, or possibly her, by various different enemy tanks, and with 43 health remaining, decided to get off the hill and go looking for something he could shoot back at. Which, under the circumstances, seems like as good an option as any, particularly since the enemy team are once again capping. But here it is. Spotted, and in return spotted by the AMX CDC. But after safely getting out of the CDC's line of fire, decides that's not quite fair, and so reverses and gives the CDC a clean shot into the side of the tank. And now there are only 2 tanks remaining on the team. Oh, did I say 2? Yeah, I meant 1. The Oni's dead as well. And he does finish off the Primo Victoria, which must have been very satisfying, but for just a split second there, Kath was the only tank left on his team against 6 enemies. Okay, make that 4 enemies. Blew away the T-34-100. There's the RU-251. The CDC just killed the STG, so we know exactly where the other 2 tanks are. They're camping. The RU-251 spectacularly fails at running away. We can see that there are 2 enemy tanks in the cap circle. It can't possibly be the AMX CDC. It has to be the Object 263 and the T-25 pilot. So that's useful information to have. Of course, they also have a reasonably good chance of guessing which side he's going to attack them from. And the 263 at least guessed correctly. Yep, that one bounced. On the bright side, the 263 missed, although he is going to have a much faster reload than an Object 257. But there's the T-25 pilot, and while technically an easier target, he is hull down behind... Really? Russian accuracy, folks. And here comes the heat, and there goes the Object 263. That just leaves what must be an exceptionally nervous AMX CDC as the last surviving tank on the enemy team. Remember, at one point, this was 1 against 6, and now it's 1 on 1. And I've got to be honest with you, folks, my money is not on the AMX. That's 11 kills, by the way. So this is a pools medal. Regardless of what else happens in this game, win, lose, it's difficult to see how Kath could lose, but this is a pools medal, and if they win, this is also a Kolobanov's medal. Don't fuck this up, Kath. Okay, no idea whatsoever where that AMX is. There's no way the AMX is going to try to win by capping. I mean, that would be foolish in the extreme. The 263 and the T-25 pilot both know exactly how much health Kath has remaining. And if that AMX is capable of communication, he's also going to know, or she is also going to know, exactly how much health Kath has remaining. So, sitting in the cap circle would... Well, it wouldn't be a good idea for the AMX, but it would actually be a pretty good idea for Kath. I mean, the AMX is a fast machine. The 257 isn't slow, but, well, it's not as fast as the AMX. That AMX could be anywhere, and if spotted, can very, very quickly be just about anywhere else. So, how much time do we have left? Oh, plenty. I mean, this is encounter, so it takes 3 times as long to cap as it does in a standard battle, but there's plenty of time. And the object of sitting in the cap circle when you have plenty of time left and you're in this kind of circumstance isn't just to win by capping, although it is possible. It's to force the enemy to come to you. If you can't find them, just make yourself an obvious target. They can either choose to hide, and they're going to lose because you get a cap, or they can try to fight it out. And right now that seems like the good option. 5.5 minutes of the game remaining. Still time to cap. Still no sign of the AMX. I think at this point sitting in the cap circle is probably the way to go. The problem with this, of course, is there are two different ways that the enemy can approach in order to put a shot into you and reset that cap. However, that's a lot of dead enemy and friendly tanks in the cap circle. I wonder if we can do something about that. We'll just move that wreck over there a little, and then park ourselves up behind the wreck of the T-25 Pilot. I don't know, we can do better than that. I mean, the rear of the 257's turret is only 100mm, and it's pretty flat. It's not much of a target, but it's a bit much more than we're happy with, and we can do more with the wreck of that T-25 Pilot. It just requires the right angle. I mean, this is a fairly heavy tank, it's got a powerful engine. There we go, that's more like it. Right, the rear of the 257's turret now has an additional 3 meters of armour. So all Cath has to worry about is an AMX CDC popping up from that direction. The AMX, on the other hand, has all kinds of problems Cath is capping. They have to predict which side they should pop out on in order to actually be able to score a hit. If the AMX pops up from the rear, it doesn't have anything to shoot at. If it pops up from over there, it's got something to shoot at, but Cath can shoot back. And this gun has 248mm of penetration and does 440 average damage. So now, I guess we just wait and see who blinks first. And you know what that means, don't you, boys and girls? Music maestro, please. Oh yes, that classic bossa nova tune, The Girl from Ipanema. I've been there, by the way. Ipanema Beach in Rio de Janeiro. It's fantastic, especially in the summer. Was actually there for, which World Cup final was it? It's the one that Brazil, won. They've won 4 of them, or is it 5? Doesn't really matter. I'm just filling time. Can't you tell? Cath's just adjusting her armoured steel, or his armoured steel butt plug there. T-25 Pilot proving more use to Cath than it was to the enemy team. So, who thinks we're even going to see that AMX CDC again? Well, I say again, I don't think Cath's ever actually seen the thing at all, but, well, who thinks the AMX is going to make an appearance, an attempt to reset the cap and force a draw? Or I suppose they could just YOLO and die bravely and pointlessly trying to get the kill. Although if they were going to do that, I expect you probably would have seen them by now. Or they could just hide in the corner of the map and call it quits until the next battle. Either option is possible. Whatever they're going to do, they don't have a lot of time left in which to do it. There we go, 2 minutes remaining. This could be the longest 2 minutes of Cath's life. Oh, hold on a second, the AMX's last reported position is down there to the south, so Cath must have caught sight of him or her at one point. Of course, you can't actually read anything into that. It's been so long now, the AMX could be anywhere. North, south, east, probably not west. If the AMX was to the west, we'd probably know it by now. But could be anywhere on the map. And if they're going to make a move, it needs to be quick, because they have less than 1.5 minutes left. I'd love to know what's going on in the enemy team chat, because I dare say that AMX is getting all kinds of helpful advice right now, because that's always the way, isn't it? When you're the last tank left alive on your team, suddenly all of the other dead armchair generals turn into Erwin Rommel. And somebody's probably given them some good advice, but oh, there he is! Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Picked the wrong side. The armoured steel butt plug successfully denies the surprise butt sex, and yep, the AMX would have been a one-shot, so that was probably his best option under the circumstances. They had a 50-50 chance of getting it right, and yeah. Still, you know, let's not judge the AMX CDC too harshly. 50-50 chance of popping up on the correct side. If they had popped up on the correct side, they probably would have died, and this would have been a 12-kill Pools Medal game for Cathagitis in the Object 257. Instead, poor old Cathagitis is just going to have to settle for a measly 11-kill Pools Medal, Kolobanov's Medal, team carry on Himmelsdorf in the Object 257. I hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.